seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah. Good evening, beautiful people. Good afternoon, good morning, good midday. Whatever time of the day that you're listening to this, I hope it is a good one. Welcome to On the Pipe podcast, and welcome back. Today is Tuesday, March the 30th, and that means it is just in time for another episode of OTP Tuesday. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepherdson, and first and foremost, I want to thank you for joining me on this glorious Tuesday evening. As I'm recording this, it is the evening. We got a cool show coming at you. We got a little bit of a recap from what happened this past weekend, dive a little bit into what happened the last several weekends since we've spoke last, and then we're going to be joined by one of the most decorated women riders of all time, Tayla Jones, hailing from Australia. She's going to be joining us here in just a little while, so no doubt you're going to want to stick around for that. Thank you once again for tuning in. I know it has been a little bit of a stretch since we spoke last. I think it's been about 3 weeks, so I sincerely apologize for that. We're right in the middle of a race season, and we're also still in the middle of a pandemic. That being said, as I've said in the past, I'm actually a safety guy for a living. I'm the safety director for a telecom company, and it's been a little bit hectic. Now, that's no excuse for not bringing you guys some OTP Tuesdays, but here we are, back in your life. We're gonna roll with it. First and foremost, I think I already said first and foremost, so this might be second and foremost, but want to give a big thanks to the people that have helped us out over this time frame. Armored Graphics, they have been with us since the beginning. They used to do the graphics for the Joe Gibbs Racing Factory Suzuki team, and they've done the graphics for a lot of you that are listening to this show, most likely. Good buddies of mine. They are just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Great quality product, great quality work, and graphics that'll hold up and look good while doing it. You can check them out, armoredgraphics.com, and when you're ordering online, use promo code OTP, and that's going to save you 15% on all of your Armored Graphics. Also want to give a big shout out to our very new sponsor. We just partnered up with Ichthus CBD. So if you follow our socials, you saw the post that we did last night. So I want to give a big shout out to Ichthus CBD. Also another local Charlotte company, actually. But tons of CBD products. They got things from topicals to tinctures to they got sleep aids. So it's got CBD and melatonin. I almost said melanoma, but it will not give you melanoma. I can almost guarantee it. It's got melatonin in it, so to help you sleep. All sorts of different ways. They got gummies that you can take. Like I mentioned, they got tinctures, and they're coming out with new products all the time. So it's a great company. If you go through their website, it is one of the most in-depth and thorough websites I've ever seen. I got on there and actually spent quite a bit of time reading through it. You can kind of read through their testimonies from the owner, also read through testimonies of users. Also, check out the athletes that they sponsor. They sponsor a lot of dirt bike riders, so I think that's really cool. They're really giving back to the sport. But you can go read about the science and read about what they do differently and why what they've got is proven to work. I'm excited to get on board with them. I'm excited to see how their products work, and I'm excited to give you an opportunity to see how their products work as well. rather than doing a promo code for OTP, as I mentioned, they are very heavy in the sport. They're actually the main sponsor of Fast Freddie Noren, who is out there racing Supercross and motocross. So he's got a code. Our very own Rachel Archer over in the Woods side of things, WXC rider, actually on our last episode of OTP Tuesday. She's got her own code. So rather than us putting a code out there, really want to send your traffic and your business through the riders, because it really helps the riders out, and especially riders trying to make a living doing this for a living, just like Rachel. So you can hit her up and use her code. Also, if you go to our post, there's a ton of riders that are actually sponsored by Ichthus and running their own code. So I encourage you to go check them out. Follow them at IchthusCBD or check them out, ichthuscbd.com. So, with that being said, let's roll right into it. It was another awesome weekend of racing and another awesome year at the Camp Coker GNCC. There was a lot of stuff that went on over the weekend. It was a great race. No matter which way you look at it, no matter how you shake it, what a race it was over the weekend. All of the battles were really good, except for XC3, Jonathan Johnson. He is on a mission this year. I've kind of spoke with him at each one of these races, and I think he's riding with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's riding with something to prove, and he is going out there and showing that each and every single week. But looking at our XC1 class, Josh Strang got off to the early lead, pulled the whole shot, and kind of started to check out, but with Stu Baylor right in tow. So if you were watching the Racer TV program, you might have heard a familiar voice. I was actually in there. It was cool to mix it up and kind of see the race firsthand. I know that thing gets scattered all around, and it's hard to keep up with the racing action. So actually being in the booth with the Racer TV crew, with Johnny Gallagher, Mikey Waynes, Rodney Tomlin, it's cool to see the screen right there in front of you and keep up with it while actually calling what's going on. But every time we saw a camera shot with Josh Strang, Stu Baylor was right there behind him. We saw them swap the leads back and forth throughout the entire 3 hours. Now, they put themselves on a podium, if you will, or on a pedestal, I guess might be a better term, but they created a race on their own, and they checked out from the rest of the field. And that happened pretty early on in the race. And then they just kept pushing the pace and kept pushing the pace until they both came down to the finish line, still wheel to wheel. So it was an awesome battle that we saw in that XC1 class between Josh Strang and Stu Baylor. As we mentioned, it just went back and forth. And then halfway through the race, the sky fell out. So it was dry, dusty conditions. Had a little bit of rain leading up to the week, so there was already some nasty spots out there in parts of the track, and then the rain just started coming down halfway through, and that did not make things easy on the riders. But it was really cool to watch that battle go on up front. At the end of the race, when the checkered flag flew, it was Stu Baylor that comes across the line first, only slightly behind his bike. He dumped the clutch and launched his bike. I'm sure you guys have all seen the pictures or seen the videos at this point. But Stu Baylor goes out there, grabs the win, makes it 2 in a row, and Josh Strang a very close second. Like I mentioned, they came through wheel to wheel after 3 hours of battling. And as you saw on the show, Josh completely exhausted. Stu completely exhausted. Those riders out there giving it everything that they had for 3 hours of racing. So it is so exciting to see these battles come down to that. We've seen Josh Strang up in the mix all of last year and all of this year until the last round in Georgia, which I know we didn't get a chance to talk about, but looking to put together a good run there. He ended up colliding with a rider, or a rider ended up colliding with him, I should say, on the first lap. So that kind of caused some issues, broke his front brake line. He had to go back to the pits. That cost him valuable minutes to get that whole front brake system changed and get back out on the track. So I think he came into this weekend with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, wanting to go out there and get the win and make a statement. I know that race in Georgia really set him back from where he was wanting to be, losing valuable points in that XC1 class in this championship race that is going to come down to the wire, I believe. So he came in, like I mentioned, got the whole shot, and the early lead, and both of those riders have something to prove this year. Josh Strang, the only period overall champion or former champion in the field. He wants to get back on top at this point in his career. He wants to bring a championship to that Kawasaki rig, and he is going to do everything that he can to do that. Stu Baylor, we all know the Stu Baylor story. What happened last year, him losing his job, him getting the injury, him coming back on all sorts of different colors, him getting the chance with Ampro Yamaha, and then winning 4 out of 5 of the races last year. Now he gets another injury coming into the series, doesn't get to race round number 1 at Big Buck due to a laceration in his back. Going into Florida, he had some more health issues that kept him off of the bike for the week leading up to Florida. So he didn't have the performance that he wanted in Florida. Georgia, he comes back out, puts an explanation on all of that, grabs the win in Georgia, and then announces that him and his wife Jade are going to have another kid, and he rolls into this weekend and keeps the momentum going. He gets the win at round number 4, making it 2 in a row and getting much needed points for his championship run after losing those very valuable points at Big Buck. So he put up 0 at the first round, and now he is slowly working his way back into that championship hunt. And now Josh Strang and his wife, Cameron Strang, after this race, they announced that they are having another little boy. I don't know what the correlation is with that, but we got a couple fathers and will-be fathers out there battling in that XC1 class, including our third-place finisher, Jordan Ashburn, who his wife, Mary, is also pregnant with twins. So they got a girl and a boy coming, and it just seems like that XC1 class is very fertile right now, not only with kids popping up, and it seems like every single one of them have a youngin' or have one on the way, but they are all absolutely going after this championship. This is the first year without the 8-time champion Caleb Russell in the mix, so it is anyone's ball game, and that makes a difference. I hate to go back to that whole, well, let's talk about Caleb thing, because he's been here for so long. He did what he did. He is the greatest rider in bike history for GNCC racing, but it does mean something to these riders that he is gone, and that is going to be the narrative throughout the rest of the year. Who is going to be the first one to take that championship after Caleb is gone? And that's why I think we're going to see these tight battles. We're going to see these battles coming down to the wire. We're going to see these riders absolutely exhausted at the ends of these races, and we're going to see these riders leaving everything they have out on the track, and that is exactly what we saw this past weekend. But as we mentioned, Jordan Ashburn, he makes the bike change. He goes from that Cowie he rode last year onto a Husqvarna this year with that Magna 1 Motorsports team. He looks to be gelling with that bike very, very well. Now, I don't know if it is a training thing that he changed or a mentality change, or if it is the bike change that's doing it. But nevertheless, Jordan Ashburn was one of those guys that was right there on the verge all of last year. But I don't think that he got a podium at all last year. Fast forward to 2021, we're 4 races in, and Jordan Ashburn has 2 podiums in that XC1 class. So no matter what the case is or where it came from, Jordan Ashburn is hungry, and not only that, now he knows that he should be up front. He knows that he should be riding with those guys, and he knows that he's a podium guy now. Half of his races have been on the podium. I couldn't be more pumped for Jordan Ashburn. He puts together a great ride and gets 3rd place this past weekend. Ben Kelly gets a 4th place, which he is tight in that championship mix as well. He went into this weekend with the white plate. He will go into the next race at Big Buck still holding the white plate. Only 3 points ahead of Josh Strang in that championship, and then right behind him in the championship, and also on actually, I don't know if he's behind him in the championship. It might be Ashburn. I'm not sure. Nevertheless, what I was getting at, your 5th place finisher rounding out your top 5 in XC1 was Grant Baylor. So we saw Grant Baylor come out and get the round 1 win, and he is still fighting for that championship as well. Kind of an underdog coming into the season as far as the championship is concerned, but he came out, got the round 1 win, guns blazing. He said that white plate kind of put some pressure on him. Well, now he is back playing catch up and not playing catch up in a bad way. I think that's where Grant wants to be. I think he wants to be hungry and working towards it, and that is exactly where he's at now. And one thing that was talked about amongst everybody during the Racer TV stream, was that if Grant can figure out the first half of these races, he is dangerous. We saw him riding back physically with XC2 riders early on in the race, and then you see late in the race he puts his head down, charges, and moves back up to 5th place. So I think if we can see him running up front and getting that sprint speed the first 2 laps, Grant Baylor is going to be in the mix for wins each and every weekend as well. So just something to keep an eye on. Josh Toth was back out there racing, podium at the last round. He gets 6th place this round. Trevor Bollinger working back into the swing of things. He gets 7th place. Benjamin Herrera 8th. Ricky Russell, I don't know if you saw the video, but Ricky Russell had a gnarly crash on lap 1. We saw him come around and his bark buster was hanging down. He kind of was just standing on the pegs and riding. He didn't seem to be charging. Within the video surfaces of his lap 1 crash, and it was over in the field sections by the far pond, and it's gnarly. If you haven't seen it yet, go check out Ricky Russell's Instagram page. He posted it on his story. I mean, just a fast, wide open section. The bike just swaps out, and Ricky hits the dirt. It's not really a high side. It was more the bike just swapped out and goes sideways, and then just kind of pile drives Ricky straight into the ground. So I talked with Ricky a little bit about that. He said rang his bell a little bit, and he just couldn't get back into the swing of things after that. But Ricky, we've seen him lead races this year. We saw him assert himself as a podium guy last year. Ends up getting injured very badly, a big cut to his leg and a broken femur, and he's kind of been healing back and coming back from that. And he told me that it's so frustrating to go from consistent podiums, being a podium guy, to coming back this year and riding hard and not being able to get on that podium. And then just a setback like this, I know that that really bothered Ricky. He's on that new team, and he told me he wants so bad to put that new gas bike on the box. And like I mentioned, he's led races this year. He's led laps, and we did mention that he was on the podium last year to start the season off. So no doubt Ricky is going to get back in the swing of things, and he's going to be battling up there for contention as well. I mean, same thing goes with Josh Toth. Josh Toth has battled some injuries, and he's coming back from them too. We saw him get a podium last race. Trevor Bollinger was just getting the swing of things in that XC1 class, making himself a podium guy before he goes out with a knee injury, comes back, gets another knee injury right away. Now he's riding back into it and getting into the swing of things. And he shouldn't even be back on a bike yet, to be frankly honest with you. Bollinger, I don't think he's cleared to ride. If he is cleared to ride, it was because he begged to get cleared to ride. I mean, I think at this point he's 4 months out of another ACL surgery. And then right around a year out of the other leg's ACL surgery. So I think Bollinger's going to use the rest of this year to get back into the swing of it, really build that strength up, build that stamina up, and look forward to hit the ground running next year. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not counting his season out at all. That's not what I'm saying by this, but I think for him, it's getting back into the swing of things. It's easing back into it. It's really pushing that knee and seeing what it can and can't do. And I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to watch the progress throughout the year. And I think by the time we get deep into the season later in the year, that we will see Bollinger up there fighting for podiums once again. And looking forward to seeing that. Corey Buttrick is another one that had looked very impressive over this past weekend. He made the change in the offseason to that factory beta machine. He's riding a 430 beta 4-stroke. I've ridden with him a couple times getting ready for the season, so I've talked with him about the bike and how he was gelling with it, and I think it took a bit to get comfortable with it, to get familiar with it again, to get it set up, to get the suspension right, and get it handling how he wants and feeling how he wants and doing what he wants it to do. But if this weekend is any indication, I think it lets us know that Corey is gelling with that bike. He's getting it figured out. He was riding up there with that pack of riders for that third place position. I did the math earlier. He was 18 seconds away from that top 3 spot, riding around in 5th and 6th place, battling up for 4th place. That group of riders from 3rd to 6th stayed with each other for a lot of the race, and Corey was right there in the mix. So I think that's got to give him a little bit of confidence knowing that he can be up there with those guys. And then also right up there with those guys was Lane Michael, also on that M-Pro Yamaha. He was right up there in the mix. Lane ended up dropping. He was a lap down from the leaders in XC1. I'm not sure what happened with Lane Michael. I didn't get a chance to catch up with him or see what had happened. Same thing with Mike Wachowski in the XC2 class. He dropped down to 13th place. He was also a lap down. I heard some chatter about some health issues going on in the Yamaha pits. I'm not sure if that was Lane Michael or if it was Mike Wachowski or if it was both. I'm not sure if one or both had bike problems. I'm not sure if one or both got stuck. I'm not sure what happened with either one of them, but two guys that we expect to see riding towards the front is Lane and is Mike in that XC2 class, and obviously not the weekends that either one of them were looking for. Our XC2 battle was another exciting one. It was an electric one to watch. It was Lyndon Snodgrass and Johnny Girard duking it out for that XC2 win. And when I say duking it out, I mean it. Those two riders were pushing the pace and pushing each other throughout the entire race for all 3 hours of it. And it was another battle that came down to the absolute wire. So the Cowie boys will both settle for second places on the weekend. Josh in that second place position overall in an XC1. And Lyndon Snodgrass riding to a second place finish in XC2, and Johnny Girard edged him out for the win and third place overall. That just tells you how fast these two XC2 riders were going and how hard they were pushing each other as they both finished third and fourth in the overall. So Johnny Girard gets his first overall podium and XC2 win. Definitely not his first XC2 win. We've seen him in the center of the box quite a few times over the past couple seasons, but this was his first overall podium, and I don't think he could have been any more pumped than what he was. We saw Johnny leading the points last year going into the final couple rounds where he got an injury where it looked like he might have had that championship wrapped up. Obviously, Craig DeLong was right there and battling for it, but Johnny Girard, as we mentioned, got hurt, missed the last 2 rounds, and ultimately set up Craig DeLong's championship run. Craig DeLong was your third place finisher on the weekend. This past weekend, he is looking good on that factory Rockstar Husqvarna machine. But just to put it in perspective, Johnny Girard, Lyndon Snodgrass, both coming in 3 hours and 7 minutes, and it was 4.5 minutes back to third place. So 4.5 minutes back was Craig DeLong in 3 hours and 11 minutes and 56 seconds. So it was really a race where we saw our top 2 riders get into a race of their own. Stu Baylor and Josh Strang hooked up with each other and pushed each other, stayed right on each other, held each other accountable, and didn't give up an inch, and it pushed them quite a bit above third place in XC3. And then we saw the same thing happen in XC2. Lyndon Snodgrass was leading a lot of that race. Johnny Girard was leading a lot of that race. They were swapping back and forth. They put themselves out on a pedestal in that XC2 class ahead of third place, and as I mentioned, end up getting third and fourth place overall. So these battles are going to be tight. They're going to come down to the wire. I was talking with Strang, and I guess what happened is he was leading on the final lap. Both of them giving it every single thing that they had, an absolute sprint, a dogfight to the finish line. He said that he was going into a line and a lapped rider ended up getting in between him and the main line or the good line that they were taking, and he said it pushed him out wide. And when that pushed him out wide, he was already dropped into a rut. The rut went out and to the left and kind of went out around the main line and back in. And he told me that as soon as he dropped in that line or dropped in that rut, he knew that that's where the pass for the lead was going to happen. And I'm sure as soon as he came to that realization, he was watching that 514 Ampro Yamaha go by in that main line. So that is how the XC1 battle ended up. Josh Strang gets pushed wide by another rider, and then Stu Baylor goes right up the middle, makes the pass, and then those two, if you were there at the finish line, it was unbelievable. Both of those bikes giving it everything that they had. Both of those riders giving it everything they had. What an exciting finish to cap off 3 hours of racing. Now, as far as the XC2 win, I'm not sure where that pass was made or what happened, but as we mentioned, it seems like every time they came into a camera shot, the lead had changed. But even with the lead changed, you saw that green bike and you saw that red bike in the same exact camera shot the entire time. But it was Johnny Gerard that ended up getting the better of Lyndon Snodgrass and ending up in that second place, or in that first place position in XC2. Cody Barnes puts together a great ride on that Phoenix Honda. He is so close to a podium. He's right there at it. He gets fourth place on the weekend, and Liam Draper on that Tayla Energy Racing KTM rounds out your top 5 riders. Evan Smith was 6th. I want to talk about Evan. Evan was so close to a podium finish in Georgia, ended up running out of gas. So bummed to see that. Evan's a buddy of mine. We send each other TikTok videos a lot. And that's actually how I hear his race reports. He'll send me a TikTok and I'll say, hey, man, what happened? And that's what happened after that last race. He told me he ran out of gas. So bummer for Evan there. I know he has been working very hard coming back from a knee injury of his own. He's on that Max Motorsports Husqvarna. No doubt he wants a podium bad. Him and Cody Barnes both, and Liam Draper for that matter, all want to be on that podium. But that class is so stacked that any top 3 in the XC2 class especially, but the XC1 class we haven't really seen change too much. Those guys are used to battling each other, but that XC2 class, although we haven't seen it change that much either, those top 10 riders are insane. So to walk away with a podium finish in either one of these classes this year is absolutely saying something. And so definitely going to be some battles to keep an eye on. Going into our FMF XC3 class, as we mentioned earlier, Jonathan Johnson, he was on the show to start the season off, and I asked him, what was his expectations for the year? He said, I'm winning every race that I line up to. And I kind of gave the giggle, like, ha, hell yeah. He wasn't kidding. Jonathan Johnson is racing to win every single race that he lines up to. I talked to him after Florida. He said, we get paid to win, so that's what I'm going to do. He told me this past weekend that he wanted to win by 5 minutes. That is an actual goal of Jonathan Johnson this year. And keep in mind, when he was on the show a few weeks ago, he told us that this ride was what was available. I asked him, hey, man, what made you decide to ride the 125 in that XC3 class? He said it was available. So that being said, the Magnum One Motorsports team is really stepping up, and they're helping out a lot of riders, but that leads you to believe that Jonathan wasn't able to find a ride. I mean, we've seen him in that XC2 class, and we've seen him be a contender in that XC2 class. And somehow, some way, he wasn't able to locate an XC2 ride. So he gets an XC3 ride, and he is absolutely making the most of that opportunity. A perfect 4-0 on the season. After the next race, if he wins that one, I'm going to add up the cumulative time that he has won these races by. This past weekend, he wins it by 3 minutes. And it's not XC3 like 2018 XC3. It's not Jason Thomas and then a bunch of people that just signed up for XC3. XC3 is stacked. I mean, you talk about Jonathan winning by 3 minutes. He won by 3 minutes over the defending series champion, Zach Hayes. So it's not like he's out there riding by himself. He is out there battling in this class as well. So Jonathan Johnson takes that XC3 win, his 4th straight on the year. Zach Hayes, as we just mentioned, our defending series champion, running that number 1 on that KTM. He gets your 2nd place finish, and Chase Colville, the whole shot specialist, ends up in 3rd. So Chase was running up front a lot. He was battling back and forth. Now, those 3 riders were very close until the rain started coming down. I think once the rain started coming down is where Johnny really put the hammer down and was able to distance himself from them. But a tight battle in that XC3 class for everyone trying to get on that box. Ben Parsons was up in the mix for quite a while. Chase Colville and Zach Hayes battled within sight of each other for damn near the whole entire race. They finished within sight of each other, so it's really cool and it's really exciting to see the racing being what it is right now, and I'm stoked to see it. JoJo Cunningham, your top overall amateur on the weekend. That's one thing that we've kind of got used to talking about is JoJo Cunningham being on that top amateur overall podium. He does that with a 21st overall on his Kawasaki. It looks like the second overall amateur was Alex Luger, and then our third top am. I'm trying to read this right now. Let's see. Joseph Cunningham was your top. Alex Luger was second. And it is. So it was Sean Myers Jr. out of the 150A class. And I'll be honest with you, I hadn't looked over the top amateurs, but that's why I kind of second-guessed myself right there and took a moment to think, because I thought that the third amateur bike that I saw was a 150A rider. And I said, well, that's kind of weird for a 150A rider. But yeah, Sean Myers out of Rimmersburg, Pennsylvania on a Yamaha. So on a 125, even if it's big board, he's still on a YZ 125. He is your third overall amateur with a 31 overall. So he's out there ripping, letting that small bore sing. So that is the way that it shook out. Looking at our WXC class, it was another great weekend of racing for them. It was Becca Sheets taking the win. So Becca Sheets and Rachel Archer, this is going to be a battle for the ages, I do believe. Becca Sheets kind of dominated the first half of last year. Coming back after break, Rachel Archer dominated the second half of last year. So now, between the two, they have swapped wins and second places throughout the first 4 races of the series. So Rachel Archer gets the win at round 1, Becca Sheets in second. Round 2, Becca Sheets goes out and gets the win with Rachel Archer in second. In Georgia, Rachel Archer gets another win, Becca Sheets in second, and then they swap once again this weekend as Becca Sheets, the reigning, defending WXC champion, takes the win and ties up the points lead with none other than, you guessed it, Rachel Archer in that second place position. Rounding out the WXC podium in the morning was the 713, the 3-time champion of Tayla Jones. And we're going to speak with her in just a little bit about her race and how she ended up back on that podium. I know it was not easy, but she was able to get it done just ahead of Rachel Goodish and Corey Steed, who will end up 4th and 5th in that WXC class. Whew. That's it. That's getting you caught up on the weekend. Another pretty big important thing to announce is we talk about the ongoing 25-plus whole shot battle between friends of the show, OTP OGs, Tyler Bruton. It's Tyler Bruton, not Brutton. So Rodney Tomlin, if you're listening to this, it's Tyler Bruton, not Brutton. But Big Tom and Tyler Bruton, it's kind of a joke that if you race the 25-plus class, it's going to come down to which one of those two are going to get the whole shot. Not who else is going to get the whole shot. Is it going to be Tyler or is it going to be Tom? And they frequently bet on it, and they got a lot of bragging rights going on about it. But it was Chris Montgomery grabbing the whole shot in that 25-plus class. So Tom got a bad jump off the line. There's a video of it. He just got a bad jump off the line. And then Tyler didn't get the best jump off the line, but Tyler Bruton was a very close second, I will say. So as far as that whole shot was concerned in that 25-plus class, he was a very close second, but he did get edged out by Chris Montgomery. And until next time, we're going to keep you updated on this 25-plus whole shot battle, because it is insane to me that both of those guys, I've seen them switch bikes. I've seen them change things up, but they still are both the two getting to the whole shots. I don't know. I don't get it. I wish I could start like that, but I can't. I have been racing, and I have been getting back out there. I've raced 2 Mid-East races. You might even see me on the line at Big Buck. That might be the plan. Might have to do it. Might have to bring the 450 out there and do a little bit of racing. I've still never raced a 3-hour, So who knows? You might even see me out there for the 3 hour. But the only thing about that is then I can't cover the 3 hour. I can't get the shots. I can't get the footage. Can't get in the announcer's booth and do a little bit of talking. So we'll see how that goes. But nevertheless, I want to say thank you all once again for joining us. We're going to get to this interview with our guest of the evening, none other than Tayla M.F. Jones. Before that, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for supporting me. Thank you guys for helping me get to this point. I never would have thought that this podcast would grow to the point that it is. It's so cool to see the engagement on social media. It's so cool to see how many people listen to this. It's so cool to have people come up and say something at the races. I mean, that's what makes it all worth it. And now eventually even bringing in sponsors like Ichthus. We also got a couple different sponsors that we're talking to that might be coming out here in the very near future. And I couldn't have done it without you all. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The point of this podcast is to not talk about Tyler Shepardson. It's not to make me famous. It's not to come on here and talk about things like that. The point of this podcast is to grow the sport. We all see the motocross media. We all see that the motocross and supercross dudes are in the spotlight. We all see the write-ups, the magazines, the movies, the film, the videos, all of that. And you don't see that as much in off-road, but it's growing. And last year with the AMA, it was actually the first time in history that there was more off-road events and more off-road unique entries than motocross. So off-road racing is thriving right now. My goal is to bring that news to you all, bring these riders to the forefront. They're not doing 5-minute motos on a groomed and prepped track. They're racing for 2 hours. They're racing for 3 hours on some of the most grueling tracks that there are. And that's my only goal of this. You see the moto guys, you see the supercross guys. I'm trying to get the woods guys out there. And I think the off-road media, the woods media, I think it's growing exponentially. I mean, you got guys like Mason Rader, Rob Mitchell, Darren Chapman, Mac Faint. You got a lot of people out there right now that are really pushing the boundaries and pushing the limits of creativity and getting all of this content out there. And I think the sport is growing, and I love to see it. Still got a lot of big things in the works. I know we've talked about some race series in the past with you guys. Still, we are right on the verge. I'm right on the verge to be able to let you know what is going on with the race series, with stuff that we've got going on. But every day, something changes. Last week, something big changed. It might change the direction of where we're going, but all I can say is stick with me. I will let you guys know as soon as I'm able to let you guys know. But nevertheless, some exciting things to come, some big things to come for OTP, for off-road racing, for everyone involved. And just keep rocking with me, and we'll keep you updated as we can. But like I mentioned, this is all for you all. Can't thank you all enough for listening. As I always say, be a friend, tell a friend. If you like the show, let someone know about it. If you're not following us, give us a follow. If you're not subscribed to us, hit that subscribe button. So whether you're listening to us on YouTube right now or iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to us on, if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button. It'll keep you up to date with what we have going on. But without further delay, we're going to move to our guest of the evening. A 6-time ISDE world champion, a 3-time GNCC champion, a 4-time full gas sprint enduro champion, a 2-time national enduro champion, and a podium finisher last year at Loretta's. Tayla M.F. Jones. Tayla, how's it going?
Yo, what's up? Everything's going pretty great.
That's good to hear. So we've talked about doing this for quite some time. And I'm very excited that we're finally getting to talk, and I thank you for your time. But that is a long list of accomplishments that we have to read off there. Which one of those things stands out to you the most?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know. The 6 days is probably one of my more favorite events. It's just a lot of fun being able to travel overseas. But I don't know. GNCC titles definitely probably at the top.
Wow. So that's
big.
But I mean, real quick, we're obviously going to get into GNCC stuff. That's going to be the focus of the interview. But of the 6 world championships at the ISDE, that's in the women's trophy class, how many of those are individual overalls for you as well?
So yeah, it was 6 with the team, and I have 2 individual overalls, Chile and Spain.
That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah,
but
it's a good time over there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. So I've got to make it out to one. I always hear about how much fun the ISDEs are. I got to get to one.
You will not regret it. Just like the whole party atmosphere and like just the vibe of the whole event. It's a good time, and then the racing's obviously epic with everyone from all over the world being there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I gotta put that on my to-do list. Maybe even this year. Are you gonna be racing it this year?
Not sure yet. Team Australia hasn't decided because it's over in Italy, and anyone that flies out of Australia or back into Australia has to be quarantined for 2 weeks. So it's kind of putting a dampener on everything. Those guys don't want to be doing that. So unless the quarantine gets raised and we don't have to do it, then it won't be happening otherwise.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty, but it's how it goes.
Yeah.
It would super suck though. Italy, we had Italy back in 2013, and it was one of my more fun events. So it's just the whole atmosphere over there. So I'd be pretty bummed to miss it, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, COVID has been kind of one of those things that's taken over everything, and I'm just hoping that we can get back to normal. But hopefully, we can see something positive happen between now and then, and be able to see you all and everyone over there racing this year.
Yeah, definitely. I really hope so.
Well, sweet. Fingers crossed on that. But let's talk about the weekend. So you end up on the podium in 3rd place. It seems like that was a well-earned podium, if you will. It sounds like there's a lot of tight racing, a lot of swapping back and forth. And you end up there on the box getting some valuable points. Tell us about how the race went and how you're able to get up there on the podium.
Yeah, definitely. The women's class right now is stacked. Like, it's insane how many fast girls are lining up on the WXC. It's pretty incredible to see, and I'm pumped to be a part of it. That's for sure. Yeah, so like just making the podium right now it's a good time. Those girls are running fast, so that was good. I'm glad to get on the podium. It's the 2nd one this year. It's been a bit of a struggle, but we had a pretty good race. I got a good start. Which made it a little bit easier, but arm pump kind of killed me on the first lap. But that's the way it goes. No excuses. Those girls are killing it, and I just hope to be running up a little bit closer in the next few races.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about not only the speed of the women's pro class, but the numbers in the women's pro class. I mean, these are the biggest consistent numbers week in and week out that we've seen quite some time that I can remember for sure at a GNCC. And I think you played a major role in that, both the speed and the progression as well as the numbers coming out. But last year, running the number 1 plate, coming off of 3 straight GNCC titles, and it seems like you're always right up there at the front. And then unfortunately, it ended with an injury. Kind of tell us a little bit about that injury and how it's affecting you now, if it is affecting you still.
Yeah, so last year was kind of a tough deal. Those girls were obviously running fast also. I wasn't having there, but not where I really wanted to be. And then I ended up breaking my hand in July. So that was still kind of summer break for GNCCs, and we're doing some sprints and stuff. And then my hand, it took a little while to come back, and I ended up missing the GNCC, and then decided I'd get my knee done because I was kind of already out of the points, and I wanted to be 100% going into this year. So we decided I'd get my knee reconstruction while my hand was still healing and just do it all at once. Then coming into this year, it was tough for sure. I hadn't raced in a long time, but my knee feels 100% like I'm ready to go every weekend. So I'm not too concerned about that. Maybe it is in the back of my head. I don't really know, but I don't feel like it is. It's just trying to get back up to race speed's been the biggest part right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hand thing, last year you ended up racing with the broken hand and with a recluse clutch in your bike because you couldn't pull the clutch lever. Didn't that happen, or am I making that up?
No, so that was actually 2019. I ended up
Oh,
breaking my left hand and shattered all of my fingers and ran a recluse. But last year, so when I broke my right hand, I ended up getting it double plated so I could race 2 weeks later to finish out that full gas championship. So I did race with a broken hand, just 2 different times.
dang. That's made out of iron. I knew that there was, I knew that happened at one point, but yeah, to come back and finish up that GNCC champion, or excuse me, full gas championship with 2 plates, and now you actually go down as the last full gas champion. But the knee injury, you got that reconstructed, and it seems like your progression of that was insane. It seemed like not very long after that, you're like posting videos, you walking and doing squats and already doing stuff. So how was that healing process, and like what was your approach to rehabbing it and getting back?
Dude, I was honestly scared that something was wrong because of how great my recovery was. Like, literally 2 days after I'd had surgery, I was walking, which was like stupid insane. Like, my doctor had no idea, and he's just like, "Yeah, if you got no pain, you can start putting weight on it." I was like, "Well, I've had no pain since surgery." Like, I was waiting for those the nerve block to wear off, and it just never came. And I was like, "This is great." So, like, yeah, within 2 weeks, I was able to squat. I was able to do pretty much everything. Yeah, so like it went super fast, and I was like, I even called my doctor. I was like, "Did you like not even fix it? Because it's fine." It's like I can do everything. So that was like super great for me. Except I just wanted to push it way harder than I actually could. So like being told I still couldn't do anything, even though I felt great, that kind of sucked. But yeah, so it's been 5 months now, maybe 6, not sure, but it's going awesome. It still gets a little bit of swelling here and there, but I don't really notice it on an everyday thing. So I'm super pumped with how it went and how I'm feeling now.
Dang, 5 months out. So how long was it before you were back on a bike and riding?
3 months, yeah, it's like 1 week over 3 months, I think. Yeah, so it was a quick one. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I was kind of expecting to maybe get a couple days on the bike before the first race, but then I was like, it feels fine. My doctor's good with it. Like, I've got most of the strength back around it. I can do everything. So I was like, I'm going to just see how it goes.
Wow, that's incredible. And you mentioned about it maybe being in the back of your mind, maybe not being in the back of your mind. Are you at the point where when you're racing, you're going through turns like, oh, I better not dab that knee, or is it pretty much out of your mind in that sense? Like, are you riding like you normally would, or are you kind of thinking of protecting that thing still?
Honestly, no. Like, sometimes I will dab it and like it shoots into my head as I did it. It's like, oh shit, but then it's like it's fine anyway when like I ride it out. So only then it comes into my head. But if I'm going into a corner, I'm not even thinking about it. But like even the times I have dabbed it, it has been completely fine. So I'm not concerned about it at all.
Dang. Well, that's great news, and we're seeing you get back to the pace, and as you mentioned, just getting back into the swing of riding. I mean, there's no replacement for those 2-hour-long races, and you're getting back into the swing of it. As you mentioned, second podium of the year this past weekend. I do want to ask you, so you came over full-time, and you won everything. You won GNCC, you won National Enduro, you won Sprint Enduro. You came back the next year, you won everything again. You came back the next year, you won GNCC again. So to have such a dominant run there and then last year end up the way that it did, what was your overall thoughts on the year? And what does that do for your confidence coming into this year? Or are you more of, hey, I need to get back to this Tayla MF Jones winning every single race by a mile? Or are you just working to get back up to speed, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I obviously want to be that Taylor MF Jones again and absolutely dominate. But we're at the point, I think, right now that the girls are going so fast. It's not going to be like that anymore. Like even in the XC1, like there's so many guys at the front. It's any weekend it could be anyone winning, and I think that's the same way the WXC has become. Like, yeah, when I moved here in 2017, I think there's only like 5 of us in the WXC, and the level that we're at now is 10 times higher than when I first started here. So like it's become incredibly awesome to watch and see it grow. It also sucks that I'm not winning dominantly, but I'm also enjoying the racing. Like I had battles all weekend with a bunch of girls and it come down to the finish. So it was like, that's really cool to be able to do that. Obviously I want to be winning, but slowly coming back from all of this happening, but we'll be back on top at some point, but it'll be battling with those girls also.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, just the progression that we've seen in that WXC class over the years is absolutely astonishing. And I think that you played a major part in that with coming over and doing what you did. And now the level that it's elevated to, just like you said, anyone can win any weekend, minus all the boys and everyone racing Sportsman A, because it seems like you girls are going to be up there winning those morning races. And it's been really cool to see the progression of the speed and also the amount of people that are in it. I think it's been in the double digits at every round, I believe, this year. And as you just mentioned, when you came over, there was 3. So it's really cool to see that. But also, a big part of your program, you made the move back to South Carolina this year. So what's your training program like now that you moved? I mean, are you getting more riding time with people? I mean, how are you kind of approaching your training and your practice time?
Yeah, so last year was definitely tough being in Texas. Like it was 20 plus hours to most races, so I had to leave on a Wednesdays. It definitely made it a lot harder being able to do that, but I had a good time. I really loved Texas, and it was kind of cool to be able to do that, but I'm pretty stoked to be back in South Carolina. Most races this year have been within a couple hours, so yeah. I definitely can't complain about that. Yeah, being able, like, we live at it's called Next Level Motocross. So we live on that property. So I have a track in my backyard. There's a bunch of people around. The Shoals is just down the road. All the riders in South Carolina in general, there's just so many people here to ride with. It's definitely making riding a lot more accessible and more fun to do, I think, with a bunch of people around also. So that's been good. So I get to ride a fair bit. We just built a gym in our shipping container, which it's going to get super hot in the summertime, but I'm pretty pumped about it. It looks super sick, so that's all that matters.
That's awesome. And real quick, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but as far as you're living at Next Level, you got a moto track to train on. Last year, we saw you go out to Loretta's, get a podium in a moto, end up 3rd overall. Is that bug kind of out of your system, or are you focusing only on woods, or is there a part of you that wants to go back out there and maybe try that again before it's all said and done?
We actually, I went back and forth on this. I know we thought about it for a little bit, and then we thought about doing the Enduros again, and then I know we were 50-50, but I think now Corey Steed told me that she was doing Loretta's, and I was like, well, damn, I just want to go so like 2 woods riders are out there competing. It'd be super sick, and I'd also love to make podium again. So I don't know. We're gonna send it, go to the regional, to the area, then the regional, see how we go, and probably head back that way.
Sweet, that's awesome to hear. I'm looking forward to it. And then my last question. You guys, you and Allie, you were keeping it consistent. You were doing the beanie banners. I thought I was going to have to shut down OTP because beanie banner was going to take over the world. There hasn't been one in a while. What's the deal?
I don't know. We kind of really slacked on that. It was a lot of fun, but I don't know. If people want to bring it back, we could bring it back because Yeah, we just been slacking lately, but if people want it, they need to let us know because we are down. We have so many beanies, it's ridiculous.
And I see people started sending you beanies when you were doing them too, so.
Yeah, we had full beanie sponsorship. It got pretty hectic. It was pretty cool.
All
We need
right.
an on the park one just so we can shut you down and we're on the beanie at the same time.
Oh man, shut down the show with my logo.
Yep.
It was it was cool to see, and I think everybody got to learn a lot more and kind of see into y'all's life, and I thought it was a really cool thing, so I just wanted to bring it up. So now everyone's gonna have to hound you and Allie to get the return of Beanie Banner, but yeah, like you said, it's really easy to miss a week, and then all of a sudden it turns into 2 weeks, and then it turns into 3 weeks. I'm guilty of it myself with this, but yeah, maybe we'll see the return of Beanie Banner at some point. Beanie Banter at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so. It was a lot of fun. I'd like to bring it back at some point.
Sweet. Well, I won't take up too much more of your time. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking to me. It was a great conversation. Great to hear from you, and looking forward to the rest of the season and seeing you fighting towards those wins.
Sweet. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.